thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the T Bloom Talk Show, the second official NBA style talk show. And we have a lot to unpack today, folks. I hope you're ready for a crazy T Bloom Talk Show podcast. Today we're going to cover the NBA playoff picture. I will give you my predictions for the Western Conference Finals and the Eastern Conference Finals, and much, much more to come. Just stay tuned and stick with me. But before we get into all that, did you guys know it was a big day? Yeah, it's a big, big day for somebody. Do you know who? Can you maybe guess who it's a really big day for? Well, hold on to that guess. Don't say it just yet. I will tell you by the end of this podcast who is having the biggest day of potentially maybe their whole life. Just stick with me here. But before we get to that, we're going to start it off with talking about the Bucks versus the Hawks, where they're going to go, how they got there, my predictions for who's going to win, and all that good stuff. But before we get into the specifics of the Bucks versus Hawks, I would like to say that yes, I, T Bloom, as crazy as it sounds, was wrong. I was wrong. I was blatantly, utterly wrong. What was I wrong about? I was wrong about the Bucks and the Nets series. If you look back at last week's podcast, I predicted the Bucks would lose game 6 to the Nets. They didn't. Not only did they not lose game 6 to the Nets, but they won game 6 and they won game 7 to win the series. The basketball gods are shining down right now on me, and we'll get into that later, but the Bucks showed something that I didn't think they had in them. Giannis delivered in both games in the fourth quarter, putting up 9 and 7 in game 6, one of those two, showing that, he's the man to close it out. Not the most efficient man to close it out, but nonetheless, he can close it out. But even though IT Bloom, yes, I was wrong, but I was also right. What was I right about? Can you guys guess? Take a guess. Go ahead. That's right. Last week I said that the Brooklyn Nets were going to need to watch Kevin Durant's minutes because he's running out of gas, and he's running out of gas fast. I just didn't know when the tank was going to go to E. Was it going to be in 3 games, 4 games, and then maybe the next series? I just didn't know how close he was. And I can tell you the exact moment that tank, that switch flipped to E. And it was as soon as that clock hit 0-0-0 in the fourth quarter. That's exactly when it happened of game 7. As soon as that clock hit 0-0-0 in the fourth quarter. Kevin Durant officially gassed out. He had no more left in the tank. He had played every single minute in that game. So what happened in OT? Well, he went 0 for 6 from the field. And that's not a result of KD not being clutch, but a result of KD running up and down the basketball court for 53 minutes and having to put up 15 points by himself just to keep his team in the game. He put up 15 points in the fourth quarter just so his team could have an extra quarter to try and win it. The man was exhausted. And I don't care who you are. You could be Kevin Durant, Michael Jordan, LeBron James. Fatigue is a factor that does not stop for anybody. Anybody. And I kind of feel bad for the guy, but then again, I don't, because then again, he did kind of go to the Golden State Warriors back in 2017, I believe, and he switched up the whole league. I don't like that. But yeah, Kevin Durant running up and down the basketball court for 53 minutes and having to put up 15 points by himself just to keep his team in the game. Try it. Go outside right now. Go to your local gym, wherever you can run. Run up and down a court for 53 minutes. Take as many shots as you can. Take as many shots as Kevin Durant was taking. You wouldn't make it past 20 minutes, and you wouldn't make half the shots KD in the whole game was making. That is not easy to do. It is a very, very difficult thing. Sorry, not sorry, Kevin Durant. I was right and wrong. And what the is up with James Harden? I mean, what is this guy's problem? Averaged 10 points in the series, shot .192 from 3 in the series, averaged the 8th most points in the series. James Harden. Hey, beat writers, here's a headline. Former MVP beats out Jeff Green for 8th best scorer in a 7-game series. Right behind Brook Lopez. You're welcome. That's on the house. You can use that. But James Harden, I mean, yikes. I don't know what that means for his career, but what a shit show for him in that series. And I know he's hurt in this, but Jesus Christ, .192 from 3-point range? 10 points in the series. Blake Griffin averaged more points than him. Brook Lopez. Brook Lopez. I don't know. I mean, I just don't think that's caused by an injury. I'm sorry. I mean, maybe it's something else. Maybe it's in his mind. I don't know. I don't think it's just by an injury. James Harden, you need to get it together. Moving on. Congratulations to the Bucks for getting the win against the Knicks. Let's move on to the Hawks and Nets stats breakdown of what we saw last night in last night's game. Hawks took the win 116 to 113. Trae Young put up 48 points, 11 assists, 7 boards, 6 shaky turnovers. You know I don't like turnovers. I'm a Chris Paul fan. I really value keeping care of the ball, even though that people say that stat doesn't really mean anything. I still think it has some value. 10 for 12 from the line and 4 for 13 from the 3-point. He wasn't just shooting threes, obviously. He made 4 3-pointers, and 11 shots of his came from mid-range or inside the paint. So Trae Young being a versatile scorer, we know that. Trae Young ultimately made a statement last night and proved that he is not afraid of any moment. He is not afraid of any moment at all. He's ready to take on anything, any limelight that the NBA is willing to give him. He's willing to take on, and he's willing to do it in tremendous fashion. Guy's an exciting talent to watch. You either love him or you hate him. I haven't found anybody who's kind of like, yeah, Trae Young's cool. They're either like, oh, I really love Trae Young. He's one of the best. He's going to be just like Steph Curry. He'll even be better than Steph Curry. Or I see somebody say, hey, how do you feel about Trae Young? Oh, I hate him. Hate the way he plays. He's like James Harden, tries to get too many fouls on him, yada, yada, yada. Really no even ground in my experience. He did have some help from John Collins and Clint Capella. John Collins put up 23 points, 15 boards. In the highlight of that stat, 5 offensive rebounds. Clint Capella put up 12 points, 19 rebounds, and 4 offensive rebounds. That's a total of 9 offensive rebounds between the two. Second chance points, we know this. It'll make or break your team, especially in the playoffs. Buck stats. Giannis Antetokounmpo, 34 points, just like his number. 12 boards, 4 offensive rebounds, 9 assists, was 6 from 8 from the line, which is very impressive because we know he's not typically the best free throw shooter. And when you're doing it in the Eastern Conference Finals, that shows a little bit of clutchness, a little bit of, maybe he can be that shooter. I doubt it. Maybe he can be that, closer-ish guy that can maybe shoot and get a heat check late in the game. Maybe. I'm not saying it's for sure. Maybe. 14 for 25 from the field goal or from the field. Really, all of his shots came from inside the paint, about 3 feet out from the bucket. He didn't show anything different there. He had 3 turnovers. Giannis was Giannis. Giannis was as good as Giannis gets last night. Jrue Holiday, though. What what is it about Jrue Holiday? Why doesn't he get the respect that he deserves? Jrue Holiday has been one of the most consistent point guards in the league since he's came in, one of the better point guards, and he just doesn't get that respect. You never hear his name brought up in any conversation. I don't know why. Maybe it's because he's a bit of a journeyman. Anyway, 33 points, 4 boards, 10 assists. He gets the double-double. Shoots 41% from the three-point line, 5 for 12. Just puts on a good performance, but it wasn't good enough as the Atlanta Hawks take game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals. Now, I try to look, what seemed to be the problems for the Bucks, and I'm not too sure. I didn't get a chance to watch the game. I had to work. Sue me. But judging by the stats, it's tough to tell exactly what went wrong. Maybe it was the second chance points that they gave up. That probably had a little bit to do with it. Seems like the ball just didn't roll their way in this one. Or maybe Middleton missing 9 threes, going 0 for 9 from the 3-point line. Maybe that was the issue. Or maybe Trae Young happened to the Bucks. Maybe that's it. Anyway, my prediction for next game, I think the Bucks win by at least 10 points. I think Giannis puts up a 30-piece. Middleton gets his shit together and puts up at least 20. And Jrue Holiday puts up a double-double with at least 15 points. And that is my prediction for the next game. Now, my prediction for the series, drum roll please. I predict the Bucks will take this one in 6 and will move on to, is it their first? Move on to their first finals ever? I'm not sure if it's their first, but I know that they are going to go to the finals in 6 games. Like I said, I don't think the Hawks have enough firepower to do it. I was also wrong about them in the last series against the Sixers. But I didn't know the Sixers were going to have a complete collapse in their attempts to get to the Eastern Conference Finals. They look like a shit show themselves, even more so than Middleton from the Bucks. But anyway, that is my prediction. Bucks in 6. If I'm wrong, sue me. Moving on. Clippers versus the Suns. Let's give this a series overview. First 2 games, Suns took care of business at home. What they needed to do. They didn't have Chris Paul. That shows a tremendous amount of continuity, leadership, an overall well-rounded team when your second best player gets out. Probably second best player, first most valuable player goes out, and you're still putting together wins in the Western Conference Finals. That shows strength in that team, and I'm proud of them because, as you know, I am a Suns fan. I'm a Chris Paul fan, so ipso facto, Suns fan. Used to be a Clipper fan. This series is kind of weird for me. Used to be a Clipper fan for a long time. Now I'm going against them, trying to get them out of the Western Conference Finals and to move on to the finals myself, as I like to say. But anyway, game 2, well, the Suns stole game 2. Let's put it that way. The Clippers looked like they were in full control. I mean, what was it? I think it was 0.8 seconds. We were down by 1, but we had an inbound play. Shout out Jay Crowder for the dime of his life to DeAndre Ayton for the inbound alley-oop slam to take the lead with less than a second left in the 4th quarter. I will take that. Thank you, Mr. Crowder. Thank you, Mr. Ayton. If you didn't get a chance to watch that, I suggest you go back right now. Go to YouTube right now. Look up DeAndre Ayton, alley-oop jam, buzzer beater. Guaranteed it'll be the first video that pops up. Watch it again and again and again because it's just that good. What else happened in this game? Oh, Paul George. Jesus Christ. For fuck's sake. For fuck's sake, you're making me ancestors come up. Paul George, you missed 2 free throws late in the game. Not even late in the game. You missed them with less than 20 seconds left to put your team up by 4 points or 3 points. You had a chance to make it a 3-point game. If not 3, then at least 2. He missed both of those free throws. And it's so bad. It's terrible timing because right after this comes right after I gave him praise last week for being an excellent free throw shooter against the Jazz. Did I do something to you, Paul? Should I not have said that? Was it too much for you? And then you come out and you say something very interesting in this post-game press conference. Something very, very interesting. When talking about his feelings going down 2-0, he says, and I quote, "With this team, if anything, we are more confident."
Right.
Right, Paul. Right. More confident. Going down 2-0 for the 3rd time in the playoffs, in the same season playoffs, makes you more confident. that why you missed those free throws? So your team can be more confident than going into game 3 with a tied series? Is that why you missed them? Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna call bullshit on that one, Paul. Here's why. I'm sure you know how hard it is to come back from a series 2-0. It's hard. I know you know it's hard. I've seen you do it. What about coming back from a 2-0 deficit twice in the same playoffs? It's even harder. Jesus Christ, that may be one of the hardest things to ever do. And you did it. I know you know how hard that is. What about doing it 3 times? It's impossible, Paul. This isn't good. Don't be one of those optimistic guys. There's a difference between optimism, being an optimistic individual, and just being flat out delusional. You think your owner, Steve Ballmer, is more confident right now? After hearing you say that? After seeing you miss those free throws? Or do you think he's scrambling, calling every medical physician, rehabilitator, massage therapist, whatever you want to call it, that money can buy to try and get his pride and joy Kawhi back? What do you think he's doing, Paul? You think he's buying into that crap that you gave him in the post-game press conference? No. Hell, I heard even rumors that he's looking into signing the damn Monstars from Space Jam just to try to get a little bit of an edge. He needs all the help that he can, and you know why. Oh, you know why. Because yesterday it was announced Chris Paul is coming back from COVID-19 protocols and is looking to return game 3. And man, if that didn't just put a stamp in this series, I don't know what will. And that leads me in to me telling you whose big day it is. That's right, it's Chris Paul's big day. Chris Paul has a chance to go up 3-0 against the Clippers in the Western Conference Finals. And if he does so, he puts himself in the best position for him to get to the finals he has ever had in the history of his career. And not only was that giving the best chance to get to the finals in the history of his career, he has the best chance to win the finals in the history of his career. This is where we go back to the Bucks beating the Nets. The Nets were the only team. I mean it. The Nets were the only team that scared me. That and the Lakers. When we first started this whole playoff thing, the whole thing they call playoffs, the NBA 2021 playoffs, there were 2 teams. No. There were 2 players that scared me the most. I knew we could beat the Jazz. Let's put that three players. I knew we could beat the Jazz. I knew we could beat most of the East. But I didn't know if we could beat LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and Kevin Durant. I knew we could beat the Clippers. I didn't think the Clippers were that good. I mean, Kawhi and Paul, I'm not too scared about the Clippers. I think we can beat them in a 7-game series. It looks like we're about to do it right now. I know their Kawhi is out. Even with them fully healthy, I think we can do it. I think we would do it. Kevin Durant, Anthony Davis, and LeBron James. Those are the 3 players that scared me. We took care of the first 2. Giannis Antetokounmpo, you took care of the other guy, Kevin Durant. He is out, and it is a full systems go for the Suns right now. I think they're the front runner. If they don't win the finals, it will be an upset. Any game that they lose will be an upset, and that is why I am picking the Suns to win the Western Conference Finals. I think we'll win it 4-1. I think the Clippers get 1 game back. I think they're a talented enough team to do so. But I think tonight, the Suns go up 3-0 and dominate the Clippers by at least 25 points. That's right. I said it. I think the Suns win by at least 25 points tonight to take a 3-0 lead against the Los Angeles Clippers. That is going to do it for this week's edition of the NBA Style Podcast from T Bloom. Send in your questions, send in your tweets. I will be back Monday for a UFC style podcast going over that Saturday's UFC fight night. Join me I'm your host, T Bloom. I'm out.